Hey everybody, welcome back to Set the Pipe. It is us, just us. No interview right now. We haven't done this in a while, so excited to get back. And I am with CK, I am with Bear and DDT, Dave DeTinley on the East Coast. Recently, we have a huge upset. Boys, Long Beach State goes down, the number one team in the country, to the UCI Anteaters. 3 straight, and then back-to-back nights played them again. Long Beach State is the victor in the second match, 3 sets as well in the sweep over UCI Anteaters. And I know you guys saw that. Would love some feedback from you guys. And then Dave, I know we've kept you away for a couple of weeks to get to some quick updates on D3, because I know I think there's only one undefeated team left, in that section. So,
Yep.
What do you say, boys? Welcome back.
Well, good to be back.
Good to see everybody.
Yeah, it's nice to be back. I'll tell you, I'm surprised they got beat. I'm even more surprised that they got beat 3 straight. I did not think that team, after seeing them the few times I've seen them and what they've done so far this year, and with just the leadership, that they would allow themselves to get swept like that. But I also think it's probably a good thing for them in the long run to lose like that, to be humbled like that, to realize that you're just not as good as maybe like someone like myself advertised that you were going to go undefeated. But hey, I told you earlier, I saw UCI play, and I thought they were damn good.
Yeah,
and
we thought USC was good, and you went to that UCI SC match. That was a great match. So to have UCI come out, it's not like I didn't think like UCI played out of their minds. I actually just thought Long Beach State was super flat, and UCI took advantage of it, and they beat them. I mean, I think they were just a better team. Now the second night, that third set was really fun to watch. Nikolov aced him to for match point, but for the most part, that was Long Beach State back again to where they were. So,
and UCI is huge, though. I looked at their roster, and they have 6 or 7 players that are like 6'7" to 6'10". It is ridiculous how tall they are.
Yeah,
they're and they all can play.
Speaking of D1, we'll shift right to D3. USC won again after having Nygaard on here. They've won 9 straight now. They just beat Grand Canyon.
Mm-hmm.
And then my Matadors lost to Santa Barbara the other night in 5. And the reason why they lost to Santa Barbara is 5, because Cal Lu took Santa Barbara to 5 like a couple days prior to that.
Literally a couple days before.
So Santa Barbara probably wasn't too happy. They were ready to get rolling. Cal Lu probably put a scare in them, and they came and beat my Matadors at Northridge in 5, which was a good win for the Gauchos, but obviously tough for my Matadors to lose that one. But there's been some real good things going on in D1 men's volleyball. There's some great things going on in women's beach too. Make sure you tune it into your ESPNs to see what's happening. It's getting closer to the mid times during the season, and it's been fun to watch. And sooner or later we'll get a couple beach coaches on here like we talked about in the past. So to go back to Cal Lu and D3, Dave, would love to hear what's going on. There's a lot of volleyball going on, and fill us in.
So let me start at kind of the 10,000 foot level just really quick. Across D3 team sports, last year the NCAA decided to end put out there the NCAA Power Index, and what it's designed to do, I'll apply it to volleyball, essentially put a mathematical formula behind kind of choosing the the at-large bids. And so that went into effect just 3 weeks ago, and with the first couple power indexes. It essentially is this. Here's the format for this year's competition, NCAA tournament. It's going to be 19 teams total. Kind of an interesting number, but that's what they got. 14 conference automatic bids, and 5 at-larges. And so here's the interesting fact about the at-larges. 2 of the top 10 teams, Cal Lu is an independent, but so is Springfield, so Coach Sullivan's team as well. And Coach Sullivan just had a massive win when they defeated, just a couple days ago, they defeated Southern Virginia, who was previously number 2, and Springfield was number 3, just to put it in perspective. But Southern Virginia was undefeated as well. And so huge win there. But the 2 independents, those are 2 big boys in the independents that should get, obviously will get an at-large bid out of one of those 5 at-large bids. The other thing is that we are really at the end of the season. I just went through and was kind of looking at the top 10 from last week's rankings. They have an average of about 2 matches left, and that's about it before we head into those conference tournaments. And again, you got to win the conference tournaments, almost all of them. have to win it to get in. And so kind of going back old school, I don't know if you remember the NCAA once upon a time for basketball, you had to be your conference tournament champion before it expanded beyond that. So that's kind of big going in there. And then I would say things like Southern Virginia losing is huge. But if you remember early on, I talked about them and I talked about their strength of schedule. They had up until just a few weeks ago, or like a week ago, they had only faced one ranked opponent and they beat them. And they hadn't had another ranked opponent until 2.5 weeks ago when they played the 5th ranked team and they rolled them 3-0 at there, and that's Juniata in Pennsylvania. A very, very, very good team. So they go into this week and this weekend with some big ones, and they got through another ranked opponent and then ran into Springfield at Springfield before finally succumbing 3-1.
Do you know the playoff format? You kind of touched on it with you have to win your conference, but how many conferences are there, and what is the playoff schedule like?
So there's 14 conferences.
Okay.
5 at-large. Why can't I say that? Anyways,
you got it. At-large bids.
Is what's
I'm
in
going
your
to say
cup.
bidges. It's just coffee. We don't need no stinking bidges. So there's 5 that will get in for the 19. Generally speaking, for instance, last year they regionalized. So they had like a number 1 seed out of 4 regions, and then the rest of the teams would play into that. And eventually, I believe the number 1 seed out of that region would get a kind of a bye, and then they would get the team right after that. So I did hear a coach's podcast. Bear, I sent it to you. I sent you one of them with 4 of the D coaches, and one of them sits on the NCAA board for this and was help putting together the NPI for them. But some of it this year with the expanded, what's going to happen is there are weaker conferences compared to what like NYU is in and what Carthage is in, for instance, and the CCIW, which is the Illinois-Wisconsin one, is very hard, very, very difficult. But there are the opportunities now for some of these weaker conferences to at least get one match before they run into a big boy. And he said that's what they were really trying to accomplish by having kind of that 19 number. So
do you think it'll expand more since they're becoming more college teams in the D3 level? Do you think they'll go maybe to a round of 32 or something like that, or even, maybe even 16 to do that? Or
so here's what I've been looking for, kind of researching throughout, kind of joining you guys, actually, since I've been joining you guys, is what does the expansion look like so this is 25, but for 2026 and beyond? Just trying to find news clippings where other conferences are starting up, things like that. And from the D3 perspective, there'll probably be a few more teams that are kind of starting up, if you will, Coley. But where I'm seeing it is conference realignment. Keep in mind, each conference is expecting to have at least 6 teams that get recognized at their school level before they'll recognize them, or they'll make men's volleyball, for instance, this. So that actually just happened in the Old Dominion Athletic Conference. This is their first season. Several teams have already who participate in the ODAC have already had teams for a lengthy amount of time, but they finally hit the 6 barrier. They're up to 7. They're going to go to 9 next year as well. So I would hope they can go broader than that. Listening to the guy who was on, and that, by the way, that guy's name is Coach Robert Wingert. He's the Misericordia coach. He sat on the board to help put together like I said, the NPI thing. He kind of hinted that even the kind of the host of that podcast they were on asked him why 19, and he hinted that's what we were told. So I was like, that's interesting. I'd like to be a fly on the wall for that one. So I'll shut up there for a sec.
Yeah, I mean, I said 16. I was thinking 32 or 64.
For sure.
64 is probably too much, but I mean, I think 32 with so many teams, like you said, there's over 300 teams, and if you have a conference that's so tough that has 6 to 8 legit teams in, and you have another conference that's just starting, and there's one medium team that wins, like they deserve to go. They won their conference, but a couple of those other teams probably deserve to go in as you grow, and the strength of schedules and just the overall amount of matches against better teams gives them a chance to maybe be in at large bid, right? So maybe they move it to 32 and go half, right? Half the teams win their conference, half the teams get in at large bid, and just make it more robust and more exciting and more opportunities for kids to compete in a championship.
Yeah, right now the projected teams that would miss based on NPI, at least at the beginning of this week. And by the way, I'm going to call out, just give much props to the guys at Frog Jump Volleyball. They do an amazing amazing data analysis on all the teams, the NPI ratings. There's a few other different power indexes that they use to go through and rank them, but they're showing teams like North Central right now is out. Now, that might not mean anything to you, but North Central just beat Carthage. They just beat UCSC, Santa Cruz, as well. They've got, I believe this is the guy, 6'7", 6'8" setter who played at Lewis for a while before transferring there. I mean, they're on a roll. They're really on a roll, and that would be a very, very tough team to come up against, who's not, right now, at least by last Monday's ratings, wouldn't make it in. The
When
others
did those power ratings come out, Dave?
So they're weekly, and they align with, I believe they align with the ABCA's coaches poll as well. So they've been going on for 3 weeks. So we're waiting, what's it, Sunday? So tomorrow, Tuesday, they should come out for the third or fourth time.
Yeah, just to let everybody know. So the D3 championships are the weekend, the weekend of April 25th, 26th, and 27th. That is the weekend after Easter, and that is going to be in Salem, Virginia. So if anybody's out there close by or wants to see some really good volleyball, make sure you get out there and support that D3 volleyball. It's growing like crazy, and the play's only getting better.
Be at Roanoke
College. There you go.
And, and I kind of jumped in and cut you off, Bear, because I'd love to hear your take, and yours too, Dave, because you probably watched it as well, as on what Sully started with Long Beach losing. What's your guys' take on that?
Actually, you know what? Excuse me. I didn't really get to watch any of the volleyball this weekend, and I had a match Friday night, and
How'd you
found
do?
out that against Palomar, and it was a battle. We did lose in 3, but 25-23 third. Could have gone either way. And then some of my guys were watching the game on their phones on the bus ride on the way back, and they were keeping me updated. They were kind of heckling me a little bit because Long Beach wasn't playing too well. And then last night, I actually had a free night last night, and I went to get tickets, and the place was sold out. And I didn't want to bother any of the Long Beach staff right before the game to see if I could get a ticket. And unfortunately, I don't have ESPN Plus, which I think I need to get now.
It's worth the pennies.
It is.
It really is.
$12.99.
Whatever.
And so I should have
go get the Disney bundle.
I know there's a bundle, like you get more
Hulu,
than just that.
I think I have
Disney,
the
and
Hulu
ESPN
bundle already with the Disney thing, and I worked for a while to try to get it, and whatever, it didn't happen. So I watched
any of our subscribers. Hit subscribe, and also just go ahead and put in the comment section to tell Tim how to hook up his Disney Plus bundle, so he can get ESPN Plus and watch all the games. I mean, it's ESPN Plus is great. So Dave, I don't want to, before I jump onto something else, I'd love to hear your take on it.
So I was in Chicago this weekend, and I was texting solely throughout, like, WTF, essentially. Like, is this real? Am I seeing this correctly? And then solely, it's literally was like, they're flat. And that was about it. And so my son and I are in our hotel room kind of following it. Like, they couldn't get out of their own way. They'd get a little bit close and then, miss a serve or whatever. And then the one we watched last night was obviously the rematch. And that third set was unbelievable. I thought for sure it was going 4 at a certain point.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, oh God, they don't want this. Just finish it.
Yep, exactly right. And I forgot to mention, both matches were sold out. Sold out Long Beach State, sold out the Brand Center at UCI. So I got to tell you, man, men's volleyball is rolling. Love to hear it. Love to see the crowds. I mean, it's been awesome for men's volleyball this season.
It's going to be an unbelievable tournament.
Amen.
Oh, yeah.
When this goes on this year, because SC, UCLA, UCI, obviously Hawaii. Long Beach, Hawaii, and there's always a few others. BYU, maybe Northridge comes in and gets, but there's those top teams are going to battle, and it's going to be really fun to watch. And it's just the level of volleyball just keeps getting higher and higher all over this country, from juniors to obviously Division III all the way up to Division I. It's crazy.
I should probably know this, but who's hosting this year? Where are the finals, the Final Four, and all that? A stumper.
I was going to say it's in Ohio, but I could be wrong.
Columbus?
At Columbus, Ohio. It is.
There you
go.
Yep. Covelli Center.
Yeah. Now, so what kind of arena do they have there? Is it
big?
Huge?
Yeah.
I mean,
if
it's where the basketball team plays, it's got to be enormous.
Great.
Yeah, and I'm assuming, especially being in Ohio, depending who's there from the Midwest, if, an Ohio State or a Penn State or a Lewis or someone like that could make it, it would be just, obviously easier for people to get to. But I got to think it's still going to be super exciting and very crowded. And a lot of people want to watch this game of volleyball. It's just growing immensely. It's so fun. Like, I'm having Travis on here the other day talking about, junior college volleyball and also talking about juniors, and we had Diana on here talking about juniors and just watching this thing go. And just the game right now is so fun to be a part of, and I'm glad to be a part of it through this because it's just fun to watch it and the growth and the level. It's incredible.
Yeah, the attendance for this whole school year for women's, right, and men's, massive. Massive. I mean, you have, Cook in Nebraska putting in what 80,000 plus in a football stadium, and then you have the sold out, and then the tournament for the women's was amazing amazing attendance. And then, I mean, when's the last time you guys heard back-to-back nights sold out in a men's volleyball match? And they're not like high school gyms.
Somewhere in international,
4,000, 5,000.
Somewhere outside the country, you would see that, but not here. And I'm gonna say this to the NCAA because I've said a few things to them on this, and I'll continue to. Is if you didn't listen to Alan's podcast, please go back and listen, because this is the time where you can invest in volleyball. You can invest in men's volleyball. You can invest in women's beach volleyball. You can invest in women's volleyball. It is a sport that is one of the top 1 or 2, depends who you talk to, sports in the world, played and watched, except here. It's such an exciting game, and we need more. We need to see it grow. We need more help from the NCAA, especially to get that men's volleyball. I mean, we talked about last time, Dave. Do you imagine if there was a Big Ten men's volleyball league? Like, how awesome would that be? Illinois, Purdue, Michigan,
Indiana,
Indiana, all playing like Ohio State and Penn State. Like, it would be awesome. And I've got to think the crowds and the people, the fans at those fan bases of those schools are so incredible. They would fall in love with it. They'd fall in love with it.
Think about Nebraska, and I've said this before on the podcast. They are so educated on the sport of volleyball, and they appreciate the rallies, and even if the other team, scores well, they're clapping. I mean, can you imagine men's volleyball just transferring into Nebraska, right? And it would in the Delaney Center. I mean, I think they would have just as much support as the women's do. I do. Yeah, so Big Ten would be sick. Yeah. Sick. Dave, what else you got, buddy?
Did you guys start to get into what is holding it back from getting into one more big school? Did you start to talk about that?
I don't think we talked about what the holdback is. I mean, at the end of the day, it comes down to money. Yeah. It comes down to money, and it comes down to effort, and like what Alan said was, we got guys, that have played in the men's game, like Hugh, for an example, who was at Minnesota for a while. I mean, that's a lot to ask Hugh to do, with his wife and his family and stuff, to just all of a sudden go back into volleyball and start men's. But, we have people like that who've played men's volleyball and who know the impact of it. And I just think you just got to put the time in and go find the money, right? And like, could Michigan fund men's volleyball? I got to think they could.
Drop of a hat, don't you think?
Yeah. But
the rounding error.
It used to be a rounding error. Nowadays, with what's going on, it's not as much because a lot of that money's going to the players and trying to figure all that out. But, the school, the Power 5 conferences with the revenue they get, and, like, I don't know what it was, SEC or one of them sent like 12 teams to the dance this year.
14.
Yeah, you get paid every round you're in further for the conference. They get money from that, the payouts from the money. Like, so like Cal State Northridge, who had a really good year this year, they didn't make it, even past their Big West tournament. Like, there's one team in the Big West going, and it was UC. It was UC San Diego had a great year this year, and they played great, but they lost in the first round. So go back to that money. That money is one round all to the Big West
for all the schools,
right? The SEC just had Florida, Tennessee was playing today. They're in the Elite Eight, so that's not just money from the first round,
added up per rounds,
and the Sweet 16. You get a ton of money when you go to the Final Four and the finals, and it doesn't just go to the team. Like it goes to the conferences, and they're all paid out, and like that's extra money, and so that money is hard for the smaller schools, right? So, but the bigger ones, like we talked about,
that's the ones we're talking about. Yeah.
I don't know why it hasn't been a push. And again, it goes back to what Alan was saying. They just don't seem to either care or really realize that it's not a golden goose by any means. You're not going to go make millions of dollars, but the potential of it and the opportunity for players and young student athletes to get a chance to participate in it is immense. And the level of volleyball is played all over the world at such a young age, as we see with Nikolov, and it needs to happen. So hopefully right now with the growth, we start to see that. We
talked about Title IX a little bit. We talked about the amount of players on football alone. There's nothing comparable on the women's side. There's
Right.
nobody, no sport on the women's side has a roster of 109 kids. Right.
You know,
So
I'll say again, I've said it before, and I've said this since I was a kid, is I don't think football should count. And
I
I
agree.
understand the
Right.
argument
100%.
from the women's side, and I really do. I'm all about equality. I have a wife that played college sports.
Yeah.
A lot of my friends and daughters, everyone deserves an equal chance, 100%. But there's no sport equivalent to football. So women's softball, by the way, you guys know because we used to watch it every time at Paul Mitchell. I love women's softball, by the way. Women's softball, I love it. I can't get enough of it. It's always on my TV. When I was at Northridge, we were top 5, 10 in the country, our women's team. They played back-to-back national championships. We used to go to every game. It's just, I love the game of softball. But you have softball, baseball. You have volleyball, right? You have swimming, water polo, basketball. Football, nothing. And some schools have gymnastics, some don't, all that stuff. You can kind of weasel, but like you're talking 85, it used to be more, but let's just say it's 85 scholarships. Now you're trying to equal that out. Listen, play football then. Just leave it open. What they hopefully will do soon, you still won't have 85 kids, is I really hope women's flag football grows like I expect it to, and it will become a women's college sport, which then maybe you get another 15, it offloads it a little bit, right? It at least gives you a little bit more. It's not equal to football, but you're still getting more runs in that. So if that happens,
is it big over there?
it's giant.
Flag football is
It's going to be an Olympic sport in the Los Angeles Olympics in
the top
2028.
growing girls sport right now, at least in high school. I don't know about college.
Dave,
but
do
in
you
high
see that
school-
on your end?
Did, yeah. So our county just got a little bump from the NFL last year and had somewhere between 20 and 30 teams, high schools that had it. The county then had to refund it this year, and that's what they did. They didn't fund boys volleyball, but they've refunded girls flag football.
And see, again, I'm about equality and growth. I think it's amazing. First of all, I love flag football, and I think it's a phenomenal sport. Especially, I've went to a bunch of girls' high school football games here. A couple friends play. It's just awesome. My kids played flag football. I love it. I think it's great. It's going to be an Olympic sport in 2028 here in Los Angeles. The high schools here in California, obviously, our weather's pretty appropriate for playing outside almost all the time, but the women's flag football in the fall, girls flag football in the fall is taken over. Like I want to say all high schools, but tons and tons of high schools have them. It's a sanctioned sport. They had championships last year.
Is it like a Thursday night instead of a Friday night?
No. They'll do like 2 days. Like they'll play like on a Tuesday or Thursday, or it's, because it's, they can play 2 games. They go on the roads. And 2 years ago, it was a sport that they recognized. And then last year, this past fall, this season we're in right now, they recognized it and sanctioned it. And they actually had CIF, which is California, Interscholastic Federation that governs the sports here in California. They had championships. So you had like a CIF champion, and it's only growing more and more and more and more. There's more youth leagues coming out. They're trying to promote it throughout the world, of course, because again, like I said, an Olympic sport. So it's going to be exciting to watch that grow. And, if we can grow that and we can continue to get more scholarships there, I think that does it. But again, go back to what you were saying, like it's tough for football. They should just take that out.
So you think adding women's flag football will help the men's volleyball?
No, I'm not saying it'll help. No, I'm not saying it'll help the men's volleyball. I'm saying it'll again, my point was the scholarships, 85 to nothing. So now you're adding another sport. I think it's 6, they play 6. So maybe they double that and give you 12 scholarships. Maybe if they were to put that in. Women's beach volleyball only started with like 4 or 5. I think they're starting to grow to more now as well, as that was the fastest growing sport in the NCAA history.
Is that what you're saying, CK? It is. Okay.
It is. I believe I don't think it's 7.
I think you're right, though.
I'm pretty sure it's 6. Yeah, I think it's 6. It might be 7 on 7, but I think it's 6. Either way, I love it. I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah, interesting. No, it's not. I mean, you don't hear about it around here. That doesn't mean it's not going on. So it's not like
it will soon. It'll be. I mean, again, it's going to just grow. And when you see it debuted in the Olympics, and I'm telling you, if you haven't seen it, it is an exciting, fun game. And the athletes that are playing women's flag football are legit. And so people are going to be really excited to watch. It's fast. It's fun. It's semi-physical. It's skill.
Women's wrestling, girls wrestling is blowing up. Midwest, blowing up for sure.
I work with that Edison High School. He's the flag football coach over at Huntington Beach High School. and pretty successful program, and he's hyped on it, and he gets a lot of his girls from other sports like soccer players, and they know how to run and everything, and actually volleyball players too. They're very athletic, so that's where he's recruiting his girls.
Wow. Well, boys, this is kind of a quick one for us, but like I said, we wanted to get Dave on here, get the D3 perspective, and definitely talk about the UCI Long Beach State matches. And we're kind of mid-season. We're mid-season right now, so exciting matches still to come. But I thought we needed to get on here. We haven't done it in a little bit, and we've got some interviews that we've banked already, and we've had Travis. We just had put up Travis a couple days ago,
Good one.
and then
Really
we've got a couple more, about 3 or 4 that we've already booked. We're really excited for those. So everybody out there, make sure you subscribe below and continue to watch Set the Pipe, because we're trying to bring you the top people with that has a great story, but then has stories within their story, and we're excited to keep going, and we can do it without you, but we really love your support, because it just helps us put up quality work for you guys.
It's all about the story.
It is.
Right, Bear? Isn't that what we just
Always
say?
been about the story,
It's
Coley.
always about the story,
Always
baby.
been about the story.
Always about the story.
Not just back, we're better.
Yes, sir.
Hey, I do have a couple points to leave you with. Good for the soul. STP for the soul, if you want to hear them.
Sure, bring it out, Dave.
All right. So a couple of things. One is 2026, we will see 2 new D1 programs start.
Ooh.
So first one, and I'll check the second. I apologize. It might be D3, but the first one is Manhattan College
Okay.
out of New York.
Jasper.
Yep. They just hired Coach Shorgan. He has, for the last 3 years, coached the D3 program at Hunter College. The other one, and I'd seen this a couple times, and I kept thinking, Sully, it's near you, Wheaton College.
Wheaton's around me.
It
Up
is,
north.
except it's Wheaton College in Massachusetts.
Not by me.
Right. So the cool thing here is that one program ended up, unfortunately, having to shut down due to COVID, and that was Johnson and Wales after 12 seasons. And their coach just has stayed within the game and just got hired to start the Wheaton College program. So
That's
I will
awesome.
check that. And
Where's
then I just
Johnson
wanted
and Wales?
Johnson Wales is out of Massachusetts somewhere as well.
Hey, did you guys hear about? I think it's St. Francis. They're not doing Division 1. They're dropping out of Division 1. They're going to D3, I think.
Total athletics, right? All the athletics. Or Coley, did you mention that?
Yeah, I don't know. Didn't see that.
I just saw that like not that long ago. They posted, it was a big like press release kind of thing. Dropping out of Division 1 for men's volleyball. So
Okay.
Wait, is St. Francis in Northern California?
No.
Then I'm thinking of another, because we talked about a school that's dropping all their sports programs up there.
That's
right. That was Sonoma, right?
Sonoma, I'm sorry.
Sonoma
Okay.
State. Yep.
SFU Athletics to move to D3.
There you go.
Yeah, there it is.
There it is. Yep, going to D3. It's cost money to stay in Division 1.
A lot.
You got to pay the price.
Money.
Yeah,
you do.
Got to pay the price.
Sorry,
So it'll be interesting. Like I said, we've been saying it for the last next 3 or 4 years is going to be really interesting across the whole board of college, from junior college all the way to Division 1. It's going to be very interesting how this all plays out, and we'll be around to talk about it.
Absolutely, can't wait. Looking forward to it. Love you guys. Always great to talk to you guys on the pod.
Very good. Cool, Dave. Thanks for joining us, buddy. And everybody, remember, subscribe and set the pipe.
Set the pipe, baby. Set the pipe.